Usually when you look in a mirror, there's this bedrock expectation of absolute unbroken reality. Like you raise your left hand, the glass shows your left hand. It's the ultimate undeniable truth of physics, right? It kind of grounds you in your physical space.
Absolutely.
But imagine stepping up to that glass, looking yourself dead in the eye, and the reflection just stays completely still.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Your eyes are darting around, your breathing quickens, but the face in the glass is just frozen. Suddenly, that ultimate, undeniable truth is broken. It's an immediate, visceral violation of your own existence.
Yeah, I mean, it shatters the fundamental feedback loop of being human.
It really does.
We completely rely on that reflection to confirm that we exist, exactly as we are in that moment. And when that loop is severed, you aren't just experiencing some visual trick. You're experiencing the absolute definition of an existential glitch. It's designed to make you question your own mind before you even question the world around you.
And that terrifying glitch is exactly the threshold we are crossing today. So welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we are plunging straight into a beautifully crafted dystopian narrative. It's titled Ivy and the Green Fire of Rebellion. We've got this collection of excerpts from Chapter 4, and it chronicles a really tight 2-week period in October 2148.
Yeah, it's a fascinating stretch of the text.
It is. And our mission for you, the listener, is to basically unpack the anatomy of a rebellion. We aren't looking at massive space battles or, armies clashing. We're looking at how resistance shifts from this quiet, agonizing internal realization into a contagious fire.
Exactly.
We're analyzing how an oppressive system breaks you down and, well, more importantly, the specific mechanics of how you build yourself back up.
And, to understand that rebuilding process, we have
Yeah.
to establish the nature of the oppression first.
Right.
We are dealing with an antagonistic force known as Velvet. And Velvet is not, it's not your typical militaristic jackboot on the throat authoritarian regime.
No, not at all.
It's this omnipresent, creeping entity that enforces compliance by making the world soft. It removes friction. It pacifies.
It just numbs everything.
Yes, exactly. And pushing back against that suffocating softness is our title character, Ivy, alongside the narrator of our text, Ayers. And just as a quick phonetic note from the text, Ayers is spelled I-R-E-A-S, but it's pronounced Iris.
Iris, got it.
So we are really viewing this entire world through Ayers' deeply personal lens.
Okay, so that mirror incident I mentioned earlier, that is exactly where Ivy's awakening begins. It's October 13. She stares into the glass, realizes the reflection is totally out of sync, and whispers to Ayers, I saw someone else in me, someone they made.
It gives you chills.
It really does. Okay, let's unpack this. Because it's like looking in the mirror and realizing you're a deepfake of yourself, right? Or like a video game avatar you didn't even create.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So I have to ask, is this a literal technological surveillance thing, or is it more of a psychological break caused by this entity called Velvet?
Well, what's fascinating here is Ivy's reaction. A lot of people would just crumble under that level of psychological warfare, right?
Yeah.
They'd be terrified.
Yeah, no, I would be.
But Ivy doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
She spends the night frantically sketching these chaotic, disconnected lines. She tells Ayers she is remembering things from before Velvet, before the world got soft.
Wow.
And what she remembers isn't a historical fact or a lost freedom. She remembers an emotion. She remembers anger.
And she describes it in such a vivid way, right?
She does. She describes it as having a color like moss set on fire.
Moss set on fire.
Yeah, and that specific imagery is incredibly revealing. Because moss is naturally damp, quiet, and passive. It grows slowly over stones. It doesn't disrupt anything. It is basically the botanical equivalent of velvet's softness.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right, so to set moss on fire is an act of violent transmutation.
Yeah.
She is taking the very passivity velvet forces upon her and turning it into something dangerously alive. In a sterilized, frictionless society that, pathologizes discomfort, experiencing a raw, jagged emotion like anger is a profound act of defiance.
It totally reclaims her internal landscape. Velvet wants to smooth out all the edges, and anger is the sharpest edge we have. But waking up to that boundary while the person you love is still kind of asleep to it, that creates this terrifying isolation.
Oh, absolutely.
Which brings us to October 14th. Ivy is acutely aware of how dangerous her new sharpness is. She tells Ayers, I don't want to break you.
Yeah.
She recognizes her rebellion could destroy the only genuine connection she has left.
And the response she receives from Ayers serves as this incredible emotional bedrock for the entire narrative. Ayers just simply says, "I'm already cracked where you fit."
It is a stunning piece of dialogue. It's so jarring compared to the coldness they're surviving in.
Precisely. Because the Velvet's entire mandate is to eliminate cracks, right?
Hmm.
Velvet offers a synthetic numbing perfection. It wants smooth surfaces.
Right, right.
And Ayers is offering the exact opposite, a genuine, imperfect, fractured human connection. By admitting to being cracked, Ayers is validating Ivy's jagged edges. It demonstrates that true intimacy requires vulnerability, and that vulnerability is the total antithesis of Velvet's sterile control.
Yeah, it grounds the whole story for us. But that realization that your identity is compromised, it forces a physical reaction. You can't just stay in that room and be angry.
No, you have to do something.
Right. Which takes us to section 2, starting around October 16. Ivy has to shed the identity Velvet has co-opted. She alters herself. She chops off a wild, uneven chunk of her hair, not all of it, just a chunk, and declares she is going underground so she won't be recognized.
And Ayers begs to go with her.
Exactly, but Ivy refuses. She chooses to carry the risk alone to protect them. But I want to talk about this underground. The narrative explicitly states that the underground isn't a physical place. It's people. The text describes them as quiet ones, sharp ones, still dreaming.
It's a very poetic way to describe a resistance.
It is, but I have to challenge the logic of this world building for a moment because the text gets incredibly surreal here.
Well, it really does.
Ayers describes the people in this underground. There's a girl with no name and wires in her neck. There's a person who cries only when the sun rises. And a dog that speaks truth in riddles.
Yeah, it's very out there.
Right. So are we looking at a literal sci-fi reality here with cyborgs and talking animals, or is Ayers just using poetic license to describe a collective of broken, marginalized outcasts?
Well, honestly, regardless of whether it's literal or metaphorical truth, the significance is how they view Ivy.
Okay, how so?
The underground welcomes Ivy and views her as untamed and sacred.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about how sterilized societies view anything outside their immediate control.
Right.
Anyone who retains their sharp edges, anyone who exists outside the algorithm, is going to be viewed as monstrous or mythical by the rest of the populace. In a world that forces everything to be manageable and clean, the wild basically becomes a religion.
That reverence for the wild culminates in this heartbreaking goodbye on October 19th. Ivy tells Ayers her ultimate objective. She says, "I'm going to burn Velvet."
Yeah.
And she says, not literally, not all of it, just enough. And then before she disappears into this violet fog of mourning, Ayers says, "Be wild," and Ivy replies, "Be waiting."
It's such a heavy moment.
It really is.
You know, the issue is that Ivy's absence leaves this massive vacuum. And into that vacuum creeps the very thing she went to fight.
Yes. Which brings us to October 22. With Ivy gone, Ayers is completely isolated, obsessively drawing Ivy's face, and we see the mechanics of Velvet's oppression shift. The text says Velvet is growing stronger, and you can feel it in the water, like honey, like sleep.
The sensory details there are just suffocating.
They are. And here's where it gets really interesting. We are so conditioned to think of oppression as sirens, curfews, physical violence.
Right, the traditional dystopian stuff.
Exactly. But Velvet operates like a pervasive algorithmic feed. It's designed to drug you with comfort. It turns the very water you drink into a sedative. It isn't kicking your door down. It's locking you inside with a warm blanket and exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah, that is the terror of weaponized apathy. If an oppressor uses violence, they give you something tangible to fight against, right? Violence creates martyrs. It generates that green fire of anger.
Right.
But how do you fight against a system whose only apparent goal is to make you comfortable?
You just stop struggling.
Exactly. You slowly drown in the honey. The system exhausts you with softness until you voluntarily surrender your sharp edges just to get some rest.
But Velvet isn't just a pacifying blanket. The true terror of this system hits on October 23. Ayers is on a train and someone slips them a note.
Oh, this part is chilling.
It is. The note has 3 lines. Ivy lives. Don't trust the mirrors. Velvet learns your voice.
This raises an important question, right? Because that final line completely upends our understanding of the threat. Velvet learns your voice. It isn't just a police state. It's an adaptive mimetic force.
Mimetic, like it mimics you.
Exactly. It steals reflections and mimics voices. I want you, the listener, to imagine that for a second. Imagine a systemic force so pervasive that it co-opts your very identity to keep you docile.
That is terrifying.
It is. When Velvet wants to convince you to give up, it doesn't use a propaganda poster. It uses your own internal monologue. It sounds exactly like your own thoughts telling you that you are just too tired to care today.
Wow. How do you possibly rebel against an oppressor that operates entirely within your own frequency?
It creates a state of total psychological paralysis. Every instinct, every comfort must be scrutinized. Is this me or is this Velvet? It completely recontextualizes that mirror incident from earlier.
Oh, right. Because Ivy wasn't just experiencing a malfunction.
No, she caught Velvet mid-mimicry. She saw the mask slipping. And for Ayers, holding that note, the urge to just let the honey and sleep take over must be overwhelming when you can't even trust your own thoughts.
But just as Velvet seems poised to totally suffocate Ayers, a spark suddenly cuts through all that static. We jump to October 25.
The broadcast.
The broadcast! A regular, pacifying, dull-mind program at the Unzoned Theater gets hacked. And suddenly it's Ivy on the screen. Her hair is completely buzzed now, but the text points out that her voice is, quote, soft, but glowing.
That choice of tone is brilliant.
It really is. And the core message she delivers, I want to read this directly to you, the listener, because it's so powerful. Ivy says, your dreams are not errors. Your wild thoughts are not wrong. They are doors. Let yourself open.
It's incredibly brief, but it changes everything.
It does. So what does this all mean? The subversion here is just brilliant. Ivy uses softness, which is the very weapon of Velvet, right?
Yeah.
But she imbues it with a glowing truth. She validates the internal glitches, the wild thoughts, the dreams that Velvet constantly tries to pathologize as errors.
Velvet sustains its power by convincing people that their anxiety, their frustration, their jagged dreams, that these are software bugs. They are errors that need to be smoothed out or medicated away.
Yeah.
Ivy takes those exact same symptoms and reclassifies them. By calling them doors, she tells the populace that their discomfort isn't a sickness, it's an exit strategy.
And the reaction to this, the ripple effect, is immediate. We see this in the final entry on October 26. Ayers doesn't immediately run out into the streets cheering. First, Ayers drops to the floor and screams into a pillow until the fabric literally tears.
Yeah, which makes total sense. Before you can mobilize, you have to process the accumulated trauma. That scream is the physical expulsion of all that honey and sleep Velvet has been pumping into them. It's grief and relief all at once.
But then, the ultimate shift happens. Ayers stands up, puts on boots, grabs a bag of chalk and a lighter, and walks out into the city. The excerpt ends with the line, "Time to leave marks."
And if we synthesize this entire arc, we see the true mechanics of how a rebellion is born. The rebellion wasn't just Ivy going into that violet fog.
Right.
Ivy leaving was just the spark. The actual rebellion was Ivy passing the green fire back to Ayers. Grabbing the chalk is an act of reclamation. Velvet survives on erasing evidence, making everything smooth. Chalk leaves physical proof of existence.
And the lighter is the promise of the fire to come.
Exactly. Waiting turned into action.
Well, what a journey this has been. We started with a terrifying glitch in a mirror, moved through the painful sacrifice of leaving a loved one, and ended with a hacked broadcast that transforms passive waiting into active defiance. It really is a masterclass in how ideas spread.
It truly is. And honestly, it reflects so much on our own reality.
Okay.
Think about the concept of a world making us soft. We navigate systems every day that encourage us to consume passively, to avoid friction, and to view our own eccentricities as just errors to be optimized away.
It forces you to look at things differently. So I want to leave you with one last thing to mull over. In a world that is constantly trying to smooth out your edges, a world that might just be trying to learn your voice, what do your own wild thoughts look like?
Yeah.
And more importantly, if those thoughts are actually doors, what are you waiting for to walk through them? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.